Trefethen, I think I pronounced that right, from NAMI. Amy is the director of programs at NAMI, Missouri, and has volunteered with NAMI for over 11 years prior to working for NAMI. She worked as a certified peer support specialist for 9 years and worked with adults living with SPMI and parents, caregivers with SED, children and youth. Amy has also served as an autism parent mentor for the Wyoming Institute for Disabilities. And Amy loves to spend time with her family and her cat and enjoys knitting, sewing, and walking in nature. So here's Amy. Welcome. Thank you.
Thank you for having me. I'm here to talk to you a little bit about NAMI, Missouri and the services that we offer. So NAMI is an acronym that stands for the National Alliance on Mental Illness, and we are a peer-based organization in that people who have the lived experience of mental health conditions support and educate other people who have the lived experience of mental health conditions, and then family members of people who live with mental health conditions do the same. So we provide education, advocacy, support, and awareness throughout the state of Missouri. Our state office is located in Jefferson City, and we have 9 affiliates across the state. One of the things that we do is offer support groups. So we have NAMI Connection support groups that are for people with mental health conditions. And the people who facilitate those groups also live with mental health conditions, and they go through a training. All of our trainings are provided at no cost to the participants through grants and contracts. We have 2 SAMHSA grants, and we have a contract with the Missouri Department of Mental Health as well. We also offer family support groups, and we're really happy that we are now starting specifically parent and caregiver support groups. Our parent caregiver support groups are for parents who have youth who are under the age of 18 and live with a mental health condition, because that looks a lot different than families who have an adult who is 18 years or older, because things change with HIPAA. And unless you have a guardianship or conservatorship or something like that with your loved one, you may not have any input or say into their mental health treatment. So a lot of times there are different needs. And in these new parent caregiver support groups, we are also trying to put tools into the hands of our families. So we do have partnerships with ParentLink, with Missouri Family to Family, and with Impact, and we want to provide extra training to the people in our groups. And we also have some things to make things like mindfulness bottles or calming jars that you can make with your family, coping kits, and other things like that. So we're very excited about that opportunity. We also offer education programs, education in presentation programs. So one of the big things that can be empowering if you live with a mental health condition or you're a family member is learning to tell your story, because it really changes things for you. So I live with bipolar 1. And for me, the first time I told my story, I used to think of myself as almost 2 different people. There was Amy before bipolar, and there was Amy after. And the first time I learned to share my story in front of other people, it was like those Amy's became one. And I no longer felt that I was 2 separate people, or I was somebody who had a great life before and a horrible life after. It just kind of made everything come together. So NAMI in Our Own Voice is a program that teaches people to tell their story in a very effective way to reduce stigma in the community and to share their recovery. We have a new program called Holding Hope, which is that exact same for family members. So family members learn to tell their story of how they learned to cope with being a caregiver, the things that they needed that could help them along in that journey, and also reducing stigma and providing hope of recovery. These are also nice kind of ways for people to volunteer in the community, and they can also be ways that people can advocate. So sometimes our speakers will share their story at CIT trainings, and CIT trainings are for our police officers who work to de-escalate mental health situations or substance use situations. So to have someone's voice in that training and to put a face to a mental health condition, whether that's through a family member or a person who has the lived experience, can really help with advocacy. We also have a program called NAMI Smarts that teaches people to tell their stories to policymakers at times when there's mental health legislation on the table. NAMI Family and Friends is a presentation program as well, but it is more informational and less a personal journey of recovery. We try to have one of those every month, and we did a recorded session so that people who have a family member who's struggling can have something that they can grab onto. So it comes with an ebook that has a lot of information about mental health conditions, the treatment for mental health conditions, communication skills that families can use, a crisis plan, and information on different family roles and relationships, and also like ways that family members can care for themselves. I really appreciated that Yvette started us off today with mindfulness and breathing, because that's one of the things that we also teach in our programs, because a lot of times as a caregiver, that can lead to burnout. And sometimes it's hard to recognize what burnout might look like in yourself. So that's one of the things that we do. And there's a slide in our Family and Friends program that talks about that exact thing, about what burnout can feel like in your body and how you can connect with the need to take care of yourselves. So now we're getting to our classes. So we offer several classes. NAMI Peer-to-Peer is an 8-week class for adults who live with mental health conditions. And it includes a lot of different ways to approach mindfulness through breathing and guided imageries, goal setting. There's a lot of person-centered tools. One of the ones that I remember when I took it was an awareness tool, where you take a situation that you kind of think about a lot, that you are telling yourself something negative about yourself, and you use the awareness tool to reframe that situation. And I found that really helpful, because I had a situation in my life that I just kind of kept returning to. And this really helped me to just push pause on that and to change the story that I was telling myself. So I love peer-to-peer. We are offering this program virtually statewide, and we found that that has been helpful, because there are a lot of barriers like transportation, or just the ability for people to have the time to attend a class. So we are excited about peer-to-peer, and it is fairly new to NAMI, Missouri. Under our family education classes, we have NAMI Family to Family, which is an 8-session class for anyone of any relationship who has an adult loved one who lives with a mental health condition. Because as I said earlier, once a person turns 18, that changes. I know my child, who is now 18, I have a release of information to be able to kind of coordinate appointments and to talk with their providers. But that isn't always the case for families. So we help them to know how they can give information if they need to a provider, especially, if their loved one, let's say their loved one has schizophrenia and was unwell and is now in another state, they could send a registered letter to that provider of all the medications that the person has been on, or if there was especially something like a really negative interaction with the medication, so that those providers have that information. All of our classes also include communication skills that you can use with your family member, and they include crisis planning and relapse planning as well. NAMI Basics is a 6-session class for parents and caregivers of children and youth who are living with a mental health condition, and it includes information on navigating the juvenile justice system. We invite in a speaker from Impact so that parents are aware of special education. We connect families with information on Medicaid and other insurance in the state of Missouri and Missouri resources. It includes a portable treatment record, which I found very helpful as a parent because I already had like an IEP binder, but the portable treatment record, you know, I would have a medication that my child would take and then I'd forget, you know, when they took it and why we stopped it. And so it was helpful to have that written down so I could say, you know, in 2007, we tried this medication, this is what happened. And after that, we switched to this. And it also includes crisis planning and a relapse plan. And relapse, a lot of times people think of that term only in terms of substance use, but it's kind of like looking at, you know, if we see this behavior, these are the action steps that we're going to take. And I like kind of planning in advance because I found that very helpful, you know, in kind of navigating my own mental health and mental wellness. You know, to know what my plan is to care for myself. And as a parent, I also enjoyed that with my child in you know, navigating their mental health condition as well. NAMI Homefront is a class for a loved one of any relationship to service members and veterans. And NAMI National is rolling out a new tool today, actually, for veterans. That's a web-based tool because there's lots of stigma about mental health in service members and veterans, and they can explore mental health topics and family wellness without, you know, being tied to a class that's about mental health, which can sometimes be challenging. We currently teach NAMI Homefront virtually, and I'm having a teacher training for that program this weekend. So for all of these education programs, we provide training to people who have that lived experience. So for example, family members of service members and veterans can become teachers for that program to lead it in their community. And this is all done for free for those folks. And then they are equipped to lead this class. And it's the same for basics, for family to family, and for peer-to-peer. So these are all the trainings that we offer on all the programs that I just spoke to you about. And since the pandemic, we've been offering these trainings virtually. At the end of the training, the person then is equipped to lead one of these programs either in person or virtually. And you can see some of the manuals behind me on top of my fridge. And I have one over here that's the Holding Hope. So each person gets a manual that gives them everything that they need to be able to lead that program either in person or virtually. We also offer provider education to mental health providers, and it provides them with CEUs. And in that education, we use a lot of our in our own voice speakers and our Holding Hope family member speakers, because the one thing providers often want to hear is a person's lived experience and their experience navigating the mental health system and what kinds of things would have been helpful or what kinds of things were helpful for that person. So we are very proud of having these workshops, and we are in the process of branching out to include in our provider NAMI Basics. We are working with NAMI National to create NAMI Basics for corrections officers and for mental health frontline staff who are not credentialed. So we also do outreach and advocacy. So I had mentioned earlier NAMI Smarts for advocacy. We have every second Wednesday of each month a NAMI Smarts Lunch and Learn session, which teaches either people with lived experience of mental illness or their family members how to tell a very short kind of elevator speech with an ask for a policymaker. And in December, we're starting over with how to tell your story. And then we take it every month and we include education on, like, for example, how things specifically happen in the state of Missouri and the process of where bills are. So for example, one of the bills that we followed last legislative session was the tardive dyskinesia Awareness Week, which is the first week now in May because Governor Parson signed a proclamation, and it's the same week as Children's Mental Health Week. And we knew where that was every phase so that people who desired to send an email or wanted to share their own lived experience of tardive dyskinesia could do that. And then in April, every year, we have a partner and policy event. We're hoping to be able to have that in person this year. So the people who attend our NAMI Smarts Lunch and Learns can then come to Jefferson City and schedule an in-person meeting with their policymaker of their choice, just to share their story, to meet them face to face. And, you know, as many of you probably know, it's a lot easier to other someone when they're not right in front of you. So just putting a face to mental health conditions can really help with advocacy. We also have a new program called NAMI FaithNet. So a lot of times the first place a person will go if they're experiencing a mental health condition is to their clergy member. And faith communities are spread all throughout our state. And what we are seeking to do is to have speakers approach their church and share their lived experience of both their mental health recovery and their faith, because for a lot of people, faith is a big part of their recovery from either mental health conditions or substance use. They work with a congregation to create a stigma-free congregation and also ask their clergy to begin having sermons and programs on mental health and wellness to kind of take away the stigma of mental illness. We also work with faith congregations to build a network of support and a bridge to getting people into services, because we all know that treatment works and that recovery is possible, but there are a lot of barriers for someone getting into treatment. And so we're very hopeful that NAMI FaithNet will help us to bridge that gap. So we just started training this past September, and already from that, some of our volunteers, one of them is starting a support group for persons of color in their congregation that focuses on mental health and well-being in Columbia. We have another person in some of the outlying areas of St. Louis who is starting a Christian women's wellness Bible study, and another person in the Warrensburg area who is approaching a variety of faith communities throughout that entire area to kind of start the conversation about, can we build a network between, you know, faith communities, nonprofits, and providers in the area so that we are serving our community. So we're very, very proud of NAMI FaithNet. These are our Missouri affiliates. So we have affiliates in Boonville, Columbia, Jefferson City, Joplin, Lebanon, Greater Kansas City, St. Louis, Southeast Missouri, and Southwest Missouri. NAMI St. Louis is our largest affiliate. They have their own staff. NAMI Greater Kansas City is in the process of getting that set up. The rest of the affiliates are largely, with the exception of Southwest Missouri, are largely volunteers without an office, and they just, you know, lead groups and classes in their community and try to do as much as they can in their community to promote mental health, and the idea that health is health, whether it's mental health or physical health, and that those things really should not be separate. The way that NAMI interacts with that training is by sending speakers. So a lot of times what will happen is that, the person who's leading that CIT training, and usually they're from the community mental health centers that are around the state, will contact us and say, I'm looking for a panel of speakers. And then they'll tell us what they need. Like, we're looking for people who have the lived experience of a mental health condition, who have had interactions with police officers to speak, or family members of youth. And so that's one of the places that it's helpful to know how to tell your story, because in our presenter programs, like in our own voice and Holding Hope, we teach our speakers how to tailor their story. So you know what to add if you are speaking to a police officer, and you know what your ask is for that audience.
Could you maybe explain a little bit more about how these individuals or professionals can get involved? Can you go a little bit more in depth about that?
Yeah, so we do have a Facebook, and we will put a lot of our trainings up on Facebook. So you can just go, if you use social media, you can go to Facebook and search for NAMI Missouri, and then you'll pull up our Facebook, and I'm going to show you our website real quick. All right, so this is our website. We have a navigation menu on the side. So if you're looking for a support group, you can see it gives you a side menu of how you can find the support group you're looking for. And then this is the programs that we offer. So let's say that you were interested in a NAMI Basics class. So you could click on NAMI Basics. And you'll notice there's a separate navigation menu here in case you wanted to look at different places. This gives you information on the NAMI Basics program. And then there's some quick kind of hyperlinks here. If you're looking to take a teacher training, you can click there. If you want to see courses, you can click here. So these are our courses right now. They're all registers, registration is closed because we started them in the fall. And for basics, because it's for parents and caregivers, we usually try to end those classes prior to Halloween, because once you get to Halloween, it just seems like you get really busy as a parent. And then we'll start up classes again in the fall. We did have one that was in partnership with FCC Behavioral Health in Poplar Bluff, and the rest of them are virtual courses that have completed. If you were interested in a teacher training, so courses are where you take the class. So if you're a parent and you would like to take the class, that is how you can take that class. If you would like to become a volunteer and to become a teacher, you would look for a teacher training. And here you can view the training schedule, the agenda. You can fill out an application form. So for example, we have a NAMI Basics teacher training coming up in February. We do try to have our trainings on the weekends to accommodate people's working schedules, and they are usually held over Zoom. We would ship your materials to you so that you would have them in front of you for the training. And in the training, you learn about that class, whichever one it is, and you also practice teaching it so that you get used to doing that. NAMI Basics is also offered in an on-demand format, which is right here. It's a teacherless class that is online, but it provides you with the same information, because one of the things for family members is that you're just so busy sometimes, especially if your child has any kind of extra needs. So you're busy anyway when your kids are in school, but if you're seeing providers and therapists and going to social skills groups and all of that stuff, you're just exhausted. So we like to let people know about NAMI Basics on Demand so that they can take that class on their own time. So that is how you would get involved, is through our website. If it's hard for you to remember, you can also just email us and say, hey, I would really like information on becoming an our own voice speaker, and then we'll send you the information that you need. So this navigation menu is pretty key to finding everything that we have on our website. Does that help?
Yeah, Amy, thank you. And also, these are at no cost, is that right?
Yes.
Okay, I think that's all I have for right now. I'll see if anybody else has questions for you or comments.
All right, well, thank you for having us come and talk about our programs. We really appreciate it.
All right, anybody have any other questions for Amy? All right, well, if you think of anything later on, please don't hesitate to let us know. If you have questions for NAMI or for Amy, we'll be happy to get you connected. Just call our Kin for Kid line at 1-833-546-4543, and we can get that answer for you.
So this program was created in with NAMI, with Pastor Rick Warren, who a lot of people might be familiar with his book, The Purpose-Driven Life, and he had a son who died by suicide. So we have right now, the way we implement NAMI FaithNet is that we have people who've already taken either our In Our Own Voice training or our family member speaker training so that they have an idea of how to tell their story. And then we provide them with the FaithNet training. So FaithNet teaches them how to tell their story, and there is a presentation they can give called Bridges to Hope that talks about how a congregation can become stigma-free. And one of the things that the congregation is given is a handout about language matters, because just like you said, language does matter. So NAMI was created a long time ago, and even in our name is mental illness. But you notice that I try most of the time to say mental health condition. And even now, the focus is becoming on just mental well-being and wellness, because mental health is health, and health and wellness are important to everyone, no matter what you live with. And so that's what we're trying to focus on. But we do try to reduce stigma. We also encourage faith communities to include sermons about mental health and wellness. And, I had a similar experience to you when I was younger and first experiencing my mental health condition. And I had a minister tell me that I was turning my back on God. But then when I went to college, my minister recognized that I was depressed and actually helped me go to student health. He told me, my wife lives with the depression. We think you are depressed. It's an illness like any other. And at that time, it was the 90s. So somebody saying it was an illness was way better than saying it was a character flaw or a shortcoming on your part. And, they were responsible for saving my life. Because at one point in time, I did become, I was contemplating suicide, and I stayed at their house for a week. They helped me get into student health. They helped me get medication that I needed, and contacted my parents. So I felt that it was very important to bring this program here for a variety of reasons. And what I'm hoping will happen, there's a fabulous program in St. Louis and now San Antonio called Bridges to Care, where communities of faith leaders have this entire network of resources for their congregation, and they focus on mental wellness instead of that stigma, and it's saving people's lives. And that's what we're really hoping to do with this program. Even though we start with just your story, that's a very powerful thing. And then you can go from there and approach different communities. And we really just want to change the conversation about mental health. That's one of our big things. And I agree with you. Let's put the head back on the body, and let's talk about health instead of physical health and mental health, because it's so interrelated.
Just again, want to let Amy know how much we appreciate her being here with us today and sharing this information. So yeah, again, just thank you so much. And if you need us to get you connected directly to NAMI or Amy, please don't hesitate to call our Kin for Kid line. I'll give you that number one more time. It is 1-833-546-4543. So we just appreciate you all being here and just sharing your thoughts and questions with us.